Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the show today, Saab's in the news. You guys remember Saab? This actually was gobbled up by a manufacturer called the National Electric Vehicles of Sweden Group, an actual group that's a little bit government run, but they gobbled up the Swedish manufacturer Saab to build electric vehicles underneath the Saab name, going after that brand recognition, which is a good idea. Well, apparently they've built a pair of 9.3s here recently. They're actually going to be doing testing some of their new technology. Now, this being said, they're not electric vehicles, they're turbocharged gasoline engines, but they've made a lot of upgrades to this vehicle and a lot of changes to it, so apparently this is going to work out some of the bugs for those particular systems before they move into full electric vehicles, hopefully very soon. But nice to talk about Saab again. Next up on the list, you might remember this particular vehicle. This is the Rumblebee from Ram Trucks. Apparently, this vehicle may be going into production very soon, as actually the vehicle has been shown off to the dealer network and is going to be taken to several dealer shows to gauge reaction to see just if the dealers think that a business model can be built around this particular vehicle. Which on one thing, I can't wait. I would love to see this thing on U.S. highways. Now, this being said, Ram, if you get to see this program, ditch that 5.7 Hemi that you're putting in this vehicle and put that 6.4 liter Hemi from the SRTs. It would juice this thing right up. That's what I think they should have in this vehicle. But I hope that they build this. We'll wait and see if it actually gets done. Next up on the list, this is the Keating Bolt. Now, the Keating folks actually built an automobile apparently a couple of years ago that had 1,800 brake horsepower and apparently has done 260 miles an hour, which is a couple 3 miles an hour off the fastest production speed from production vehicle, the Bugatti Veyron Super Sport. That being said, it wasn't a production model. This vehicle supposedly is going to be a production model, and it does have the Bolt, that is, has a mid-mounted 7-liter V8 that's actually sourced from General Motors. Now, the vehicle makes 640 brake horsepower to 800 brake horsepower, depending on what kind of specification you put between this vehicle. Now, they're talking like 0 to 60 numbers in just a touch over 2 seconds, and a top speed of 215 miles an hour, which is somewhat believable, but not near as believable as that 2 seconds to 60. Now, this being said, the Keating folks, to actually show off this automobile, is actually testing a brand new one of these vehicles, building it as we speak, highly modified, with a 2-stage supercharger atop the 7-liter V8. Which doesn't make much sense to me because I don't understand how this thing works. Apparently, it can run on normally aspirated, or it could run on forced induction. So the supercharger is either on or it's off. It kind of reminds me of the old Mad Max film. Remember that? Max's old Ford that had the supercharger that turned on and off, which actually couldn't happen because it was a belt crank driven supercharger, so that wouldn't have actually worked without a sophisticated system atop it. Nonetheless, they're claiming that this thing, normally aspirated mode, is going to make 1,000 brake horsepower, and in supercharged mode is going to make 2,500 brake horsepower, which seems a little unbelievable. Not near as unbelievable as what they plan on doing with this. They're going to take this vehicle somewhere next year, actually between August and September of 2014, to somewhere in the Arab Emirates or somewhere in the United States to make a high-speed run. And this is what they're planning on running. Wait for it. 340 miles an hour. Yeah. I tell you what, I hope that you guys are successful in this ordeal. I would hate to think who you're going to have to find to try to drive this machine, but nonetheless, if it does happen, boy, it will make a huge splash in the automotive world, and apparently they'll be able to sell the tar out of these things. Talking somewhere around $250,000 for one of these cars, but we'll wait and see. The Keating Bolt. Next up on the list, Caterham. I love the little Caterham. It's a fantastic little automobile company, building stuff lightweight and rear-wheel drive and real tossable and whatnot. I'd love to get one of these in the United States, and I know that you can import one and somehow get around it to get it licensed for the road, but Would love to have them a dealer network in the States. And apparently that's exactly what they're working on with this next concept. And we've been talking about over the past several shows, which would be the AeroSeven concept, and here it is. Yeah, I don't really care for the looks of this particular automobile, at least not from the front. And the source that I had for one of the sources that I had for this said it looked badass. I don't know if it looks badass. Maybe the back part of that it looks like it. This being said, huge supporter of this particular automobile, and it will come with a 2-liter, normally aspirated 4-cylinder that's putting out 237 brake horsepower and 219 pounds-feet of torque. Now, it will be routed through a 6-speed manual transmission to the rear wheels, and they're talking 0 to 60 numbers being 3.7 seconds and do 155 miles an hour. I actually think the back end of it doesn't look too bad. It's that front that's not the world's greatest looking. Now, this being said, they're looking at selling this around the world. They're talking about China and the United States, so I can't wait for this to happen. Also, what was let out during that particular press conference from the Caterham folks is they're actually looking at building a couple of other automobiles. A city car and a crossover, which sounds weird. But when you look at their partner in doing this, like they had the partner for the 7 concept, the AeroSeven concept, it's Renault. So that makes a little bit more sense. Okay, if the Renault folks are involved in this deal, they already build city cars. They already build crossovers. So what the heck? You could just rebadge one of these particular machines and sell it all around the world, in theory, as long as it didn't go head-to-head with some of Renault's stuff. So, nonetheless, it looks like Caterham is going to try to become a well-rounded organization, well-rounded product development. So, pretty interesting situation. Next up on the list, you may not know what this is. This is actually a Lidar, a laser radar system, normally used by the military. These things are quite expensive and run 360 degrees of actual range and 360 degrees of looking, as this thing will actually spin around quite quickly. These things are hugely expensive, somewhere around $70,000. And you've probably seen some of these systems in the use of a lot of autonomous automobiles. As autonomous automobiles continue to walk into the forefront of the newest technology that may be taking over the green technology that everybody wanted to go on and on about. Now, these particular systems, you've seen a lot of manufacturers using, a lot of companies using this, actually trying to develop autonomous automobiles. Well, there's a company, a French company, the Autoline.tv folks actually ran into at the Frankfurt Motor Show. It's Vallejo. Vallejo builds everything all the way down to wiper blades. Heck, I've sold Vallejo wiper blades in the past. Now, this being said, they have developed their own LiDAR system, and here it is. It's a very small, compact system. Now, it doesn't have 360 degrees of movement, only has 150 degrees. But it has 150 meters of range and is accurate down to 1/4 degree, which is pretty doggone impressive. Not to mention the price tag on this thing. $250 for one of these, which in theory you could patch up 4 of these, one on each corner of each system. I'm sure the Vallejo folks are actually working on a system to make them talk together and would actually work in tandem with each other, and you could build an autonomous vehicle with this, especially at that price point. That really makes it very inexpensive. And I know there's a lot of autonomous stuff going on later, guys. Laser guided cruise controls, and there's the ones that'll brake for you and whatnot. And then there's the new system from Mercedes-Benz that actually steers the car a little bit. But an autonomous vehicle will take over all the settings and will actually drive the automobile itself. In theory, you should be able to just punch in where you want to go, and it will take you there, which is pretty cool if you ask me. I would love that if my company van did that. Well, that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this week's Motor Cars Enthusiast. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, the link's down in the show notes. Also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time. Get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.